to episode 23 of Rebels Without a Pod, the show that dares ask the question, men, do you ever find yourself suffering from the heartbreak of Chafe Johnson? My name is John.
Chafe.
Joining me tonight,
Australian, buddy.
Andy, who does our artwork and graphic design.
Hello.
Naveen on music and audio production.
Howdy.
And Pod Daddy Eric, a.k.a. Mr. Busyness.
Howdy.
Hurtful.
You won up to Naveen's howdy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
I go too.
Right.
I'm back to you, my friend. Howdy do.
Howdy.
Also,
Howdy
joining us, a special guest returning to the podcast. You may know him as SoundCloud rapper Lil Drumma Boy, or for his delicious baked ziti. It's your old buddy Napone.
Baked ziti? I don't think I've ever made baked ziti.
I'm just
ziti.
What do you want? Today on the pod, we're continuing our superior sequels theme with discussion of Blade Runner 2049. But first, gentlemen, how are we all doing today? Any announcements? Any sort of follow-on topics or anything that people want to sort of bring up?
All right, let me do this. I got to leave this. I feel awful about this, but this is not Napone's first time being on the podcast. He was on a previous episode. Remind me which one it was. Was it Lost in Translation?
No.
It was Valkenvania.
Valkenvania,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nothing but trouble.
Yeah. So for that episode, I don't know I'm not that close with Napone, so I've only seen him like probably a handful of times in my life. But when I was so focused on the pod when we were recording, I just kept looking at his name in his box with his picture because we have all the video going. So I kept calling him Nipun.
A belated apology.
That's right.
Yeah, I kept saying Nipun, and I didn't catch on. It just, I'm like, that's how you read it. That's what it is. And then afterwards, Andy's like, yeah, it was a really cool podcast, like a really cool record. We had Napone on, and I'm like, shut up. I said like, the whole time, the whole goddamn time. And you were so nice, and you didn't correct me. And
I don't even think I noticed.
Really? I said to Naveen, I was like, I'm every shitty teacher Napone ever had in like elementary school.
No, to the best of my memory, none of Napoleon's teachers actually fucked up his name like that. I was in every one of his classes.
You sure?
Sorry, dude.
No, they did.
You really?
Did they?
Yeah,
Thank you.
There's no chance that anybody called him Napone the first time they read his name. N-E-E-P-U-N.
Never.
There's no chance.
Just the gym teacher.
Right.
Everybody else, though.
You want to hear a cool story? So during graduation, where they have to say your name, they spent like, I don't know, 5 minutes of the principal trying to figure out the name. She finally gets it. They wrote it phonetically on a piece of paper on there. She still got it wrong. The whole class was like yelling at her during the rehearsal, being like, it's Napone. It's Napone. And she still got it wrong.
Is it Nipun? Is what people usually say?
Was this Mrs. L, if I remember correctly?
Yep.
Yeah.
But wait, let me ask this question. I'm not sure I've ever asked you this question, and I've known you for a long time, Napone. Were you born Napone? Did your parents call you Napone, or were you Nipun, something like that, and it just over time morphed into Napone?
Anglicized?
I think it more morphed into it. It's probably just the way I was saying it, so it kind of became that.
So your family back in India, let's say, what would their off the cuff pronunciation of your name be?
I would say they would say Nipun. You got to put that Indian accent on it, so it kind of helps.
Nice.
I cannot. If I did that, I'd be canceled already, Napone. I can't do it.
Just the fact we're having this conversation kind of puts us on thin ice.
Yeah, I'm already getting
Sometimes
fired
yeah.
He can say it because it's his own name.
There we go.
But
That's right.
Naveen
not
can't
you or
say
I.
it. Naveen's not allowed.
Sweet. So the phone apology accepted?
Yes.
Yeah?
I literally did not notice at all that you were saying it wrong.
Really? Okay. Nice. It's because I said it with like intensity.
Yeah.
And often.
Nipun.
You just threw
You had the
yourself under the bus
confidence.
is all.
Yeah, I'm just glad I didn't say nipple. That would have been weird.
Yeah, that's happened before in science class. So.
All right. Other announcements, corrections? I guess we have to add apologies to this particular category. I'll make a note of that.
I'm going to be apologizing a lot.
I don't apologize. So nothing for me.
Sorry, Australia.
I guess just a quick thing on return to our last week's episode there of Roadrunner. Just throwing it out there.
Roadrunner.
Apologize to the pod, Naveen.
Going back. I apologize. I was
all right.
no.
All right.
Apologies to Brad.
Apologize to Acme.
The Roadrunner movie.
Okay.
Road Warrior. Could it have been a standalone movie?
Yeah. Could it have been a standalone movie? Meaning what? Explain what you're asking.
It didn't really need the prequel. Like, I know the prequel came before, obviously, but you didn't need the prequel, and you didn't need to make any others after. Like, it was just could have been a movie on its own, one and done.
Mm-hmm.
I like if we tie it in with this being like the corrections segment, because if you say like, hey, we're going to have it as a standalone movie, it's kind of like they're correcting what they did with that first movie. And so they made it like its own thing. Like, I agree. I think the first movie is fun, like we mentioned, but I don't really think it adds much. And I mean, even if they had just made up that beginning part, or people weren't aware there was like a first movie, you could totally buy that as a standalone movie.
Yeah.
100%.
Because you get at the start of the Road Warrior, like you get like the World War II montage, and then like they got sort of kind of like the voiceover and like the brief clips of kind of what Max was in his previous life. That absolutely could have not been sort of pointing back to like an original movie at all. That would have been just some individual sort of kind of footage that they like shot ahead of time, kind of put some kind of catch up narration, and it could have just like stepped right into it. I think it would have been extremely effective as a standalone.
Yeah, it would have just sort of set the scene for who he was briefly. This is briefly what he went through that got you to here. This is why he's now, roaming the deserts of wherever the hell he is, by himself with a police car.
Yeah. An interesting, we didn't kind of talk about this on the podcast last time, but an interesting sort of comparison I've heard about kind of how Mad Max and the Road Warrior actually connects is the original kind of Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi movies, like the Evil Dead 1 and the Evil Dead 2.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, the Evil Dead 2 sort of being kind of a higher budget remake of the first one. It's supposed to what just what the experience that kind of both Raimi and George Miller had kind of making like these initial movies was they got everything out of theaters. They talked to like the audiences after, and for in Miller's case, he's like he realized, what people really loved about this, what really the parts of Mad Max they really loved was not so much kind of like the family stuff or the police drama. They loved the car chases and sort of like kind of like the crazy Australian road gangs and kind of like this sense of kind of this world sort of kind of being in kind of like the end time. So that's when Mad Max was a hit, and he was able to kind of work with considerably higher budgets. His philosophy, kind of Sam Raimi, the same thing between Evil Dead 1 and 2, was just let's make this kind of like a 2.0 of like the original movie, just giving more of the people what it is that they actually like from the first one.
I was going to say the first one also didn't have boomerangs, so
Big miss.
A loss for cinema, a loss for culture.
Yeah, they're like, it's Australia. You got to have at least one boomerang. And a fucking awesome boomerang, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Or enough puppies.
One boomerang and one death by snake bite.
What was that, Naveen?
Or enough puppies.
There we go.
Yeah.
Puppies,
Puppy.
Puppy.
Andy and Naveen, I have to ask, as two of like the dog owners of the pod, has that kind of crept into like how you address your own dog?
No.
No,
That's a shame.
definitely not. My dog already has too many nicknames.
Mm-hmm. Could you give us a few?
It's getting weird.
My favorite one, and I'm not even going to explain how I got to this. or at least the most NSFW, not safe for work, is Cooter Tutor. And I'm just gonna let that hang there.
That sounds like somebody who's in like the gang of Lord Humongous.
I am not giving you any commentary on it. I'm going to leave it up to the listener.
It's such a shame we lost Cooter Tutor to that boomerang.
That was a close shave. Whoosh. All right, I got a question for Andy. Do you have any nicknames for your kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're not Cooter Tutor.
Please say Scrotus.
I'm just curious. Do you have any fun ones, Scrotus?
I do use Scrotus often. Do I have a fun one? No, I mean they're all like, Bud or Dude.
Hey guy.
And a banana.
Oh, okay.
Nothing nearly as interesting as Cooter Tutor.
Okay.
Nice. I have weird names for like my pets. I have weird names for my kids. I don't know where any of it comes from. And so, for example, like my cat Skittles, her name's Skittles. So the kids got to name the cats. It was a brother and sister. They each named them after food. So one was Skittles, one was Cookie. And then Cookie's always been Cookie to me, but Skittles, she's like this little cute like cat, and she was the runt of the litter. So I used to I call her Skittles, but then I started calling her little goat because I'd push the hair back on her face and she just looks like a little tiny goat. And she always goes, and then I called her.
She doesn't do like the screaming goat thing of a cage. She's going,
yeah. And then, oh shoot, what did I call her? Probably something. Oh, Skunk. I called her Skunk when I got mad at her. Because she has like a little raccoon tail, but at night it looks kind of dark, and then she kind of loiters around like the kitchen all the time. So I was like, "Get out of here, Skunk!" And I like kick her, and people thought it was a real skunk, and I was like, "No, it's my cat."
Right.
But I call my son Caleb Kunga.
Kunga.
I cannot explain Kunga, and it's great because his friends know him as K-kun, because that's what they call him in Japanese. It's K-kun. They take K from Caleb and then add kun to the end. But then for some reason, I heard the kun, and I was like, Kunga. Like, that's your badass name I'm giving you, Kunga. And
what does the kun mean? Is that a Japanese thing?
It's kind of like an affectionate suffix for kind of like either somebody younger or kind of boys. Kind of means like sort of like junior or
like. Or you ever hear Chan? Something Chan? Somebody Chan? Tomoko-chan, Momo-chan. Chan is kind of like they do for like little kids, but then for boys, they more often do like kun. I guess it sounds a little more masculine. I just kind of mixed shit up. Look, I mean, raising kids is tough, and so you there's just stretches of like memory that's just gone.
Yeah,
like years have gone by. It's like the difference between like Mad Max and Mad Max 1 and 2. You're just like, I don't know how many years that's been, but this guy's seen
all of a sudden you're in the middle of the desert. Like one of your friends has a gyrocopter. Things just Dude, life comes at you quick.
That gyrocopter was a booty wagon. There's room for two. There's room for
Absolutely.
two. The captain did really well for himself. Gotta say, the girl with pretty eyes. He was there like he had bad teeth. He was there for a day and a half.
What he looks
he
like.
Didn't just have bad teeth, dude. His teeth were awful. Awful. Anyway.
All right. So I want to shout out something just kind of very quickly of an experience that I had on Friday night. I usually kind of go out for like live music somewhere like in the city on Fridays. So it's later on Friday night. I order the lift. Kind of guy pulls up. Kind of get in the car. I'm like, hey there. I've got my headphones in because I usually just like listen to some music like in the drive-in, kind of psych myself up for like the show like a little bit. Lyft driver shows. Get in the guy's car, and I go, hey man, how's your night going? And he goes, it's pretty good. And then completely unprompted, he goes, I'm just trying to think of obscure revenge movies for my podcast.
Wow.
So I immediately like I'm taking my earphones out. I'm wrapping them up. I'm like, this is going to be a very entertaining ride. So young man also has a movie podcast. I didn't get any further kind of information. His name is Jose. Very just fun, energetic, kind of young fellow to talk to. He is doing a long series of kind of reaction podcasts on as many obscure revenge movies as he could. So we just kind of we sort of talked through like some like the Western ones, but he says his thing lately has been the Western revenge movies are kind of too well known. So he's been trying to find more kind of obscure stuff for Asian cinema. So he knew Battle Royale, which was one I think we kind of discussed briefly, kind of doing on our own kind of Asian cinema cycle. He also shouted out Tokyo Gore Police. Eric, I don't know if you're familiar with that one at all.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Mm-hmm. So supposedly the premise is like there's this police woman who is just kind of getting into these constant sort of violent fights with the Tokyo Yakuza. And every time that she gets injured or loses like part of a limb kind of during one of these points, it grows back with a robot piece. So like the movie is her turning into a cyborg. It sounds pretty sweet, right? But he also said,
Can I just say that there is no way that this is coincidental, that you just happen to get this particular Lyft driver who is a podcast dude and also is interested in Asian cinema. We're living in a simulation, guys. I don't care what anybody says. This is the Matrix.
I've got one word.
Eric has sort of said this
Grinder.
before. Dean has kind of fought me clutch with the nail on the concept. You're 100% living in.
John is just in a dark place right now. He's just like, you know what? I need some excitement. I'm just going to take some risks. I'll take in.
Are you sure it wasn't Bumble?
Bumble, yeah, Bumble. I don't think John's sure of anything at this point.
No,
it's very, very hot in Las Vegas, and like maybe Letterboxd started up like a dating service that like a gay dating service I accidentally opted into. Like I don't read any of that SLA shit.
About We Are Little Zombies.
I did not bring up We Are Little Zombies because I think that's a depth of kind of obscure film knowledge. I did not tell this guy I also was part of a movie podcast.
I just need to say something, by the way. Sure. Feeding off of We Are Little Zombies. I told my wife about the movie. I said, it's an awesome movie. You should watch it. She goes, no, thank you. I don't think I'll watch it, after I described it to her. And I said, but there's this awesome scene where it's like they're doing the cremation of, the kid's parents. And then this little boy's sitting there, talk to his mother. And he's just like, is it hot? She's like, yeah, it's hot. And he's like, and then he's just like, are they feeling any pain or something? And she's like, no, they're not feeling any pain. He's like, that's good. And then he's just like, is it hot as Kamchatka? And she's like, what's Kamchatka? And as soon as I said that to my wife, she's like, dude, everybody knows Kamchatka. And I was like, excuse me, you know Kamchatka? That was like a thing going through like my house with like me and my kids. We're like, watch out for Kamchatka. It's so hot there. And she's like, yeah, it's this some like town in Russia or some part of Russia. It's like to the south. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
It's just something everybody in Japan was aware of all the same time.
Yeah, she gave me like an hour-long lecture about like how Japanese learn so much more history than Americans. That
I'm going to say that she made the right call. She made the right call in deciding to not watch it. I'm just going to put that out there. That was a good call.
Can't handle the truth.
Napoleon, just for reference, this episode was the source of like a little bit of contention at the time.
Everybody loved it. We moved on.
Yeah. Since this is an audio podcast, Andy is shaking his head, and we also got like a little something. Moving on. The only it was interesting talking to this guy because he was so desperate to talk to anybody about movies that when I started telling him even basic stuff about my kind of history with film, he got so excited by it. Like he at one point, in all seriousness, asked me if I had ever heard of the film Fight Club.
Shut up.
And I kind of laughed
Who is
a bit.
this guy?
Like, yeah, that Fight Club. It was my sophomore year of it was my sophomore year of college. I went to see it opening night with a friend of mine, and he got so excited. He's like, "You see that? That's beautiful. That's wonderful. That's a story right there."
Let's make out.
And what I said to him next was like, "Well, this guy I went to see it with was named Adam, so yes, there was kind of a bit of a story."
Oh wow, that got dark quick.
Yes, it did.
Anyway, so just to let you guys, we have maybe some legitimate competition on the West Coast. I just kind of want to fill everybody in.
Did he invite you to be on his podcast?
He did not.
Then it's not a real podcast.
Did he give you the name of the podcast?
That's true. Yeah, did he?
He did not. Well,
he's just sitting in his kitchen talking to himself.
He pulled into the venue. He pulled into the venue. He kept talking to me for another 5 straight minutes as I'm literally kind of leaning over and holding the door handle. And then I looked out the window and there's some bikers just kind of glaring at us. So I kind of went, "Okay, thank you so much. Kind of have a good night." Sort of jumped out of the car.
I was going to say, maybe I take back the whole grinder thing. I just think he knows how to read people. And he's just looking at you in the rearview mirror. And he's like, what is this guy really into? Definitely podcasts. He looks like he loves movies. Probably Asian cinema. I think he likes Asian girls. Right. And he's like, all right, go with it. And then just fucking dead on. This guy we should have him on our podcast.
Well, I'm probably going again to like the same venue like this Friday because that's all I kind of like do like every weekend. So if I wind up kind of taking like another drive with the guy, I'm going to try to get more contact information. I will follow up on Mike if there's anything more to be said about it. Mike,
excellent.
I hope we see you again.
Oh, yeah.
We'll finish
guys,
that.
I'm leaving the show.
Yeah.
I just found another deal across town.
He asked me, and it's free.
Mm-hmm.
He is giving me nothing. I don't have a job.
All right. So unless there's any other like announcements or things you guys want to cover, you want to get to the movie?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
Okay. All right. Blade Runner 2049 is a 2017 American noir science fiction film directed by Denis Villeneuve, who actually took over filming from Ridley Scott, the director of the first Blade Runner movie. Synopsis in brief. Tonight, I'm going to do like a little bit of a different thing with my synopsis. So here we go. A grizzled loner holes up in Las Vegas, vast wasteland stretching out in every direction under a bleeding desert sun. He hides there, away from faces familiar, forces that may still wish him harm. Days pass, shift, accelerating into weeks, months, and then years. The solitary man watches from afar as artificial intelligence supplants mankind and wide-scale environmental disaster continues unabated. The seas boil, the skies darken, and, like the caduceus of Greek myth, the world begins to consume itself, wriggling and whole. And then, one fateful night, he decides not to worry about all that and instead watches Blade Runner 2049 for his podcast.
Jesus.
I was waiting to interject.
I'm getting light applause from Eric.
Bravo.
I was waiting to interject. I was waiting to see where it was going to go. And it's like, then headlights appear out of nowhere and blaze upon this stranger. The Uber driver pulls right up and says, "Sir, your ride is here." The man gets in.
Blade Runner 2049 stars Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford, Ana de Armas, and Jared Leto, with Ford and Edward James Olmos reprising their roles from the original film. Sidebar, fun fact. Some of Ryan Gosling fans refer to him as Baby Goose. Blade Runner 2049 was a critical but not commercial hit. It grossed a modest worldwide total of $267 million against a $150 million production budget, falling short of the estimated $400 million box office need to recoup all its costs. However, the film was critically lauded, currently holding an 88% positive rating among critics on Rotten Tomatoes, and I did not know this before, but was actually nominated for 5 Academy Awards in cinematography and visual effects. Film critic Brian Tallarico, writing for the Ebert Foundation, gave the film 3.5 stars, saying, quote, Over 163 stylish minutes, Blade Runner 2049 wrestles with nothing less than what it means to be human, serving as a beautiful thematic companion to the original film, a film that defined a genre. Denis Villeneuve and his team are remarkably ambitious, using the topics raised by Blade Runner to continue the conversation, instead of just repeating it to make a quick buck. To that end, they have made one of the most deeply philosophical and challenging sci-fi films of all time, a movie that never holds your hand as it spirals the viewer through its gorgeous funhouse of things. All right, let's kind of start just general questions. Andy, this was your pick for the cycle, so what inspired you to choose this movie?
So I'd only seen it one time, and I had only actually seen the original Blade Runner one time as well. I remembered not liking the original Blade Runner and really liking 2049. I thought that, based on that, first of all, I wanted to revisit it. I assumed that you guys had either seen it or at least were familiar with, kind of the world that it inhabited and kind of what it was all about. And I thought it would be interesting to get everybody's take, to see if my general distaste for Blade Runner, the original, if I'm the anomaly, or if maybe I had some people on my side, because I know that the original Blade Runner is one of those movies that movie nerds just absolutely love.
It's spoken of certainly as an unimpeachable classic, but also kind of as a very complicated film. It kind of flopped for its time. Came out in 1982, I think, almost like if not the same weekend, within a week of John Carpenter's The Thing, another kind of like maligned film at the time that's kind of considered a classic. And like the original Blade Runner, very famously, was an expensive production that the studio fought constantly with the director and the star of. And as I've gone through, I believe it's either 7 or 8 iterations, kind of different kind of cuts they've sort of made since then, trying to get it back to what Ridley Scott's kind of like original concept of the film would be.
Yeah.
I'll do a callback. I'll say for the original Blade Runner, same as you, I watched it like 20 years ago. I don't know which cut I watched. I remember I hated the ending for some reason. I think it was just that, what are the names? Deckard ends up killing like the other dude at the very end. Like he has to kill like all 4 of like the replicants. Yeah, he's killing all 4 replicants. Right. And so I think it's like he finally gets the last one. And then he's just like,
Rutger Hauer's character.
I think that's kind of maybe what they thought the audiences would want. Watching the final cut was a little different, so I thought it was a better ending. I enjoyed it a little more. But like that world there is so visually stunning. Like Akira, like I told you guys, it's like so many like months just putting out like all those cells, like all those drawings. I mean, and it really shows just how well they fleshed everything out. And then seeing this, I mean, 1982, those sets, like, holy shit, it was so amazing. That's what took me back the most. I thought it was subpar acting on Harrison Ford's part, but that's probably how he's directed to act. I mean, that whole world itself, just every little piece of it, I loved it.
Supposedly one of the things that was actually happening behind the scenes with the original Blade Runner was that there was a long-running actor strike at the time while they were in production. So they So Ridley Scott and the crew had months and months more than they were actually anticipating to just kind of to make the costumes and design the sets and figure out like the fog and the neon and the lighting or anything else. So that's a very large component supposedly why it looks as amazing as it actually does.
I was going to say, do you guys know the Terrifier movies? They have Terrifier 3 coming out.
This is a snag.
Horror movies.
Okay.
The reason to bring it up, it's going to be really big. I think it's coming out month. It's a Christmas like serial killer movie about a clown that kills people. But the director, the first movie he put out, it was super low budget, and it did okay. But the second movie, he ended up, because of COVID, he spent extra time just coming up with these just really creative like kill scenes, and because of that, it was like a huge success. That was that movie they were talking about that people would go see and they were like vomiting at the theater because it was so gross. Because there's a scene where some girl's having her arm broken, just like visually, it was just
I've only watched like some like the really notorious scenes from Terrifier 2 on my phone, and I've got a pretty good stomach for horror movies, but there's some like intense stuff in there.
Yeah, some are goofy, but some are just awful.
Right.
So the third one they're expecting it's going to be pretty out there.
So I guess. Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
So let's go around the horn like a little bit. Who actually rewatched the original Blade Runner as part of this? I did not.
I did. Final cut.
Final cut. David?
Yeah, no, I didn't get to watch it. I wanted to, but I did. I had seen it previously. And Napoleon, you're on mute, so we couldn't hear a word you said.
He said it's pronounced.
Trying to
it's pronounced. Deepun.
I watched the first one. I've never seen it before. Watching it now.
What did you think of it? Did you like it?
Yeah.
I did not like it. The first one.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty bland overall. I think I watched the final cut version.
That's largely like the final cut was released in 2007, and that if you rented it any place, that's kind of considered like the definitive edition.
I do have to say that yes, the visual effects and the view of it was pretty awesome considering the time. And if you also compare it to Blade Runner 2049, I was impressed that 2049 did not look drastically over produced or over CGI compared to the first one.
It came out a quarter century after the original one.
Yeah, when you picture episode 1, Phantom Menace, it looks so much more extreme compared to episode 4. This didn't have that feel to it.
Definitely, yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good call. Yeah, I think so. This is not a hot take at all, but Denis Villeneuve. I wasn't super familiar with his work prior to. Or at least I didn't realize that I was familiar with his work prior to not to Blade Runner, but to Dune. And I gotta say, man, the dude knows how to frame a picture. He knows how to make memorable scenes. And the fact that he was already dealing with a very well fleshed out universe just gave him the opportunity to just really kind of roll his sleeves up and do something special. I think, in my opinion, my favorite part of 2049 is the cinematography. And I'm not a film nerd like that. I generally don't care about that stuff. But man, I sat there watching, the different worlds that they would, the world that Dave Bautista's character lived on, and just, kind of the different vibes of each of them, all the oranges and reds that he was using. And it's gorgeous. And also Jared Leto still sucks. That's my takeaway.
Thank you. Thank you.
So for the original Blade, but for the original Blade Runner, it did at least the visuals with the set design kind of enrapture you the same kind of way.
100%. That was the best part of the original Blade Runner. Absolutely.
Right.
It was a feast in the same way, Eric, you brought up Akira, and I hadn't really thought about that. For those that haven't heard, obviously, because we haven't posted it yet, we did Akira as I think our third movie that we ever reviewed or we ever did a podcast on. And I wasn't a huge fan, if I'm being honest with you. But the thing about Akira that I liked so much was the world building. The world building was incredible. And I think Blade Runner, the original, it was on par, same feel. I felt like I was there. It didn't feel dated. It didn't feel like it was super far-fetched. Even though
the cheap sets are kind of poorly conceived, or it didn't look like a thousand other sort of kind of subpar, what the majority of kind of sci-fi sort of looked like from around that era.
It was its own thing.
So in the original Blade Runner, what were the things that sort of lost you? And pace is something people always complain about with it.
Yeah, pacing I thought was off. I think Harrison Ford's acting was subpar, and that's being, I think, generous. I didn't remember it being as bad as it was, and I was really surprised at how bad it was, because generally speaking, I like Harrison Ford, and I even like him when he is acting like Harrison Ford. He's got he's got kind of a unique run. He's got a unique kind of face facial faces that he makes, expressions. That's the word. Generally, I'm on board with that stuff. But I felt like it just was bad in the original Blade Runner.
Right.
I think to your point, he was very serious. He played this serious throughout. I don't think there was one funny Harrison Ford thing or that Harrison Ford charm that always has with like Indiana Jones or something.
The smirk, kind of like the sort of rogue Han Solo. Everything he's doing is like a little bit tongue in cheek. That it undercuts the movie just like a tiny amount to kind of make it.
And they let him have that in 2049, at least to a little bit. Like he definitely had a couple of weak moments.
Good point.
Yeah.
That conversation with Gosling.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I love that part.
I think like Harrison is legitimately acting in 2049.
Yes.
Agree. Yeah.
I agree. Naveen, what'd you think?
I didn't get to rewatch it, the first one, but I remember liking it. Definitely the world building and all that stuff they did in the first one, even 2049, was just great. But I still plan on kind of revisiting it, even though it's gonna be afterwards, just to really get another look at it. And but I know we have this question later in the podcast, but 2049 is definitely a better movie and just more engaging. Especially, you just kind of look at the runtimes. We were talking about it earlier about 80s movies being 90, approximately 90 minutes long.
And generally what a relief and a blessing that is, because
I really like that. Yeah.
90 minutes is exactly how long you want to spend in the world. At least for me personally, 2049 is so beautiful and so well paced and fantastic and engaging the entire time. It's a 2.5 hour movie that does not feel like a 2.5 hour movie.
Right. And they did it well. Yeah. And so, I definitely have to go back to it, because I know a lot of you have been saying Harrison Ford's acting was really bad in Blade Runner, but I don't recall enough to know if it was bad.
It's not an awful movie. It's not an awful movie. I definitely think it's a fun watch, and it's only like an hour and 40 minutes or something.
It's worth watching for sure.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. I have a question. I was just listening to one of Paul Scheer's podcasts earlier today on the original Blade Runner. For the people that rewatched the original, I was wondering if any of you honed in on the fact that out of like the 5 major replicants in the movie, how they were all themed after different animals.
In the original?
Anybody? Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Didn't pick up.
No.
Only Daryl Hannah's character seemed to animalistic.
Thank you. I don't know what character she was playing. She was playing a mongoose. Is that what it was?
What was this?
Flips out, by the way, when she gets shot. That was that acting there. I was like, she's just freaking out, and it felt so inhuman. I was like, that's awesome. Right there.
Supposedly, this.
I
looked up.
You were turned on by that. It's cool, man. Let's explore that.
I was just disappointed by
who's the animal here.
It happened too quickly.
Oh yeah. Bam bam. All right.
So it's supposed to be that Roy is a wolf, Zora was a snake, Chris is the most obvious one. She's supposed to be a raccoon with the crazy hair and the and like the wig, which is why Eric tried to kick her when she came into the kitchen. Liana, I guess, is supposed to be a tortoise. And Rachel, I guess it's much more subtle, but she's supposed to be themed after the mechanical owl that you actually see. Like this.
I can see that.
I can see that.
Well,
in this one,
don't go in thinking that, Naveen. Like, don't be like, I'm going to see this movie and then I'm going to like find the animals on all these characters. Just watch the movie. Screw the owl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll just go back to the hidden pictures in that book, the highlights book or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's actually funny, just to kind of bring it up. I know we got Vigo's toes later on, but the wooden animals that Deckard has carved, all the first letters of them spell out the word Rachel. So it was like a rhino, a hippo, the horse, an elephant.
You're awesome. You like pause the screen at that point. You're like, pause. I'm gonna figure this puzzle out.
Right.
I was just like, look,
in my research.
I'm like,
man.
yeah, I was just excited that he put the what was it, the wooden horse or back with like the other animals at the end. I'm like, look, it's back, it's family. That's sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's talk performances like in the film for like for a bit. Any sort of like particular standouts? Is Ryan Gosling good in this, you think? I mean, it's a very sort of serious, understated. He's kind of doing like the same thing that he kind of did like in the movie Drive.
I think Gosling is let me preface this by saying I actually he's grown on me over the years. Mm-hmm. I just watched the Fall Guy movie that he did a couple of weeks ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean,
the movie about the stunt doubles, right? With the Emily Blunt.
Yeah. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not a good movie, to be clear, but I enjoyed it. But I think he's best when he is sort of stoic and a little bit wooden and a little bit robotic, and that absolutely fits his character of Kay in 2049. I also want to call out the fact that Ana de Armas was pitch perfect. I mean, just absolutely, to me, one of the standouts of the whole movie, plus the fact that she's gorgeous. But I just thought she was so good in that part and so believable. It was great.
The Ana de Armas kind of AI home companion, the only thing, like she's so crazy hot in like this movie, and to your point, like she's very kind of good in as well. But I was watching
and she's good.
Her acting boobs.
I was watching her kind of just Kay kind of come home to like this AI girlfriend every night, and all I could think of was this old Andrew Scott Card joke about like I Dream of Jeannie, and the joke is basically like, man, if I had a genie like her, my first wish would be make your tongue 20 feet long and then lick my balls from across the room.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, yeah, good one. I still
Scott Card instead of Orson Scott Card.
All right, no, he's the old sci-fi guy that went to like super MAGA the last few years.
That explains a lot of things.
Those are different. Yeah, those are different people.
Nice.
Anyway.
It just brings me back to that joke that John used to make, which we saw watching like a Robin Williams special. You always do this at like the most appropriate times, where it's just like it's like Robin Williams is like, he's like, what was it like? This is my impression of eating out a woman, and then he takes his face, he puts it in his elbow, and he goes, no. His
elbow is super hairy.
And as soon as they showed the big projection of Ana de Armas come out, she's just like, "Hey, Joe," and then I just no.
I don't know.
Good old Joe.
He was right at the level.
This movie had come out in 1996, and I had seen this sort of like kind of just mid-teenager. Like this, parts of my brain I think would have been wired by the billboard scene.
I mean, that's what kept me going after 2 hours. I was like, come on, I've stuck with it this long. You owe me. Let's go. And then it's the giant boobs. I'm like, all right, that was better than like that replicant earlier that they stabbed that had the so-so boobs.
Yeah, her
like
only
the sweaty boobs.
Credit. Her only film credit. I looked her up on IMDb. It's her only film credit. I guess she's like a Hungarian model or something like that, and her thumbnail is literally just her character from the movie from like the shoulders up, looking kind of sad. Like Jared Leto's about to kill me. It's gonna be weird. He's...
honestly, if Jared Leto was trying to kill me, I'd just be laughing the whole time. It's like fuck you, Morbius.
All right.
Nice.
I
was gonna say, I mean, I agree that Gosling's acting, I think, really worked well. Just being a replicant, you know, they tried to get rid of feelings to make them better. That was like one of the improvements they said, and his just. I mean, I think he did pretty good. I mean, there are parts in there that I probably would have broke out laughing trying to rehearse that part, and he just like no, just kept it cool.
Look on SNL, all those clips he did in SNL. He's breaking character in all of them. But this whole movie, I keep like reflecting back on that, and I'm like, look, he's gonna lose it. And then he kept it together the whole movie.
It's because they didn't have
you probably had multiple takes.
Robot to send out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
What was that?
Ridley Scott's on the side there doing like a jerk off sign. It's like he's going, he's gonna go. Wait for it.
It's not like SNL where they're doing it like live. He probably cracked up so many times there behind the scenes footage.
Sitting there playing with a horse, making it talk.
I will say the quick call out for SNL, the sketch that he does with Bill Hader. No, not Bill Hader. Sorry, Kate McKinnon, where they're abducted by the aliens, is one of the funniest fucking things I've seen in recent memory. And he breaks throughout that whole thing, and it's just gold.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
It's true. They could have done that every episode, a new one. I would have been on board.
Yep.
Is it part of the Beavis and Butthead one though too?
Oh, the Beavis and Butthead one too.
Oh yeah.
They both
did a good job not cracking in them.
Actually, all of them.
Yeah.
Like
they all broke.
He's just like just we don't know each other.
Yeah, I know.
I'm surprised he didn't break when she's like, "I'm gonna give you a special name, Joe."
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Joe?
It's the best you could come up with?
Yeah.
You're a goddamn robot with access to literally every piece of information in the entire history of the human race. And Joe?
This is the thing people are going to find out about AI.
Her name is Joy, right? It's Joy.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, maybe there's like a male version of that, and it's Joe.
And it's Joe.
So it's like Joy and Joe. You pick your pleasure.
I guess
she was running in sleep mode when she picked the name out. She's like, I don't know, Joe. Like I just
Joe.
How about Joe?
I have to preserve my sleep to you.
Hope your dinner's not too dry.
Okay. Anything more you want to say about the movie generally, or do you want to go on to questions?
I mean, generally, I want to say I don't know if I'm out of the ordinary. I didn't like the movie. I thought it was very slow.
Really?
2049, you didn't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that was be Andy's take on it. To be honest,
it was slightly better than the first one, but I'm like, I can do without this movie. I can see why.
Had you never seen it before?
Nope.
Had anybody else on the pod not seen it before?
No, I
saw it.
Yeah.
I didn't remember it that well, but I saw it.
Okay.
And I do have a habit of confusing Blade Runner with Tron, because I always think Blade Runner should be Tron. Like the name of the movie should be Tron. Tron should be named Blade Runner. There we go.
Isn't Jared Leto in Tron as well?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Is he really the new one?
I think he is, isn't he?
Is this soundtrack by the soundtrack's by 30 Seconds to Mars?
30 Seconds to Mars, yeah. Now I got to look this up. It's the.
He is in Tron, but just as Morbius. He's watching and he goes, "It's Tron in time."
Blah 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 blah.
Seriously, how does that guy keep getting acting gigs? I don't get it.
Yeah, he's totally in Tron. Yep.
No shit! Wow. And
actually,
even in this one,
the music the music in Tron was composed by
Trent Reznor.
Trent Reznor with Nine Inch Nails. Basically.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I still won't watch
30
it.
Seconds to Mars can't get a byline on that.
I have no interest in the Tron movies whatsoever.
Have you guys tried to rewatch the original?
No.
I think I did after the
It
second.
drags. It does not age well.
It doesn't have quite the same reputation as the original Blade Runner does.
Yeah. Willow though. Willow's.
Oh, Willow.
It's all there, all the good stuff. How that was not like 9 movies or had that own universe there. I mean, god damn it. And it has all the same elements as Star Wars. I was like, this thing's a fucking masterpiece.
Willow's great.
I thought they were trying to do a remake of Willow.
They did. I think I bashed it last episode.
They did a show on HBO.
Yeah.
I thought I think it's like a Disney Plus show, and it was so unpopular.
It was.
Oh, that's right.
Took it off the service just as a tax break.
It leaned too much on the plus side.
It was not
Be
good.
all inclusive.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
Was there anything about like 2049 that you did enjoy? Anything that stands out for you? Like the set, photography, like world building.
That was good. I actually liked Dave Bautista's acting in it. I thought he.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Knowing from Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's like humorous, I could see where he's branching out to the drama movies and these more like elaborate acting. I thought he did a great job in this kind of like small
acted
role.
the shit out of that scene. I thought, like
he did.
The movie was in.
I love that tense first scene, and then I kept saying to myself, "He's gonna escape," and then he just got taken out, and I was like, "What a fucking waste!"
I think he's the best former professional wrestler.
Yeah.
Actor.
No questions. Not even close.
It's not even close.
Yeah, imagine The Rock in that same scene.
Although, I mean, Hulk Hogan's career back in the 90s, that was some pretty good stuff.
I mean,
he was in Rocky. He was in, oh God, what was that
was
one?
It No Holds Barred?
No Holds Barred, thank you. That's the movie I was thinking of. And it had that other guy, that black dude that was like always cross-eyed or whatever.
Yeah, Zeus,
thank you.
Zeus.
Right.
Zeus.
Who was also in Friday.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
He was Dweebo and Debo.
Yep. That's right.
All right. So
was it Debo from Nothing But Trouble?
No, that was Little Devil.
Bobo and Little Devil.
Bobo and
Little Devil's ready.
All right. So to go on to questions, like so we got a couple prompts here that Andy wrote. His first one: more human than human. Blade Runner 2049 blurs the line between what it means to be human and replicant. Is it plausible to think that humans will face a similar conundrum considering the rise and inevitable proliferation of AI in the real world?
Deep question, man. Deep.
Really deep. There's the obvious answer, and then what I was going with this is I'm like, we're nowhere near that point where we could have actual replicants that you would mistake for humans. That's so far in the future, and just with like the current state of things and the constant state of things, I don't think we'll ever get to that point.
I think it's possible near the end of our lives if we made it to like 100.
None of us are living that long.
That's wishful thinking.
If any of us make it to 2049, it's going to be a miracle, dude.
No, I want a tight 70.
Right.
That's all I need to get.
I like that.
Yep.
70's tight.
70. Yeah, I know. Tight 70.
So
69,
go ahead,
dude.
Naveen.
No, go for it.
Naveen, cut that part.
Go for it, man.
So I thought about it for a while, and I think my answer is if AI stays, big air quotes, in the computers, I don't think that we have much to worry about. If we humanize AI by putting it into sort of like a humanoid or even an animal type body, then things start to get a little bit, I don't know, fuzzy. If we make them indistinguishable from humans, or even like the realistic hologram thing that Joy is, replicant revolution, here we come, man. Well on our way to that. And I could totally see us being dumb enough as a species to make them indistinguishable from us, and in fact better than us, stronger than us, faster than us, more well equipped than we are, and then that's how humanity gets wiped out, just because we're fucking idiots.
There's a tweet that I love from time to time that it goes something like it feels like every public CEO announcement these days is our tech company has just made the Torment Matrix from the 70s sci-fi classic novel. Don't make the Torment Matrix.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They keep cloning those fucking dinosaurs is all I'm saying. They keep making more Jurassic Parks. It's like, when are you going to learn, guys? Because we're dumb. We're just dumb.
Right.
I wanted to bring this idea up, by the way. It's slightly nerdy. I'm hoping they did in like X-Men 97 or something. But the whole thing with the character Cable that's in like the Deadpool movie, he's in the X-Men series. I don't know if you guys understand. He's not just like cyborg. He's actually infected with a virus. And it's called the techno-organic virus, where human tissue is converted into like technology, like robotic technology. So you're being converted into a robot, essentially.
It sounds like something out of Tokyo Gore Police.
I want you to watch that movie and then report back to me on it.
This is a movie that I am just dumbfounded. You have not either seen or have like kind of 4 different like DVD copies of.
I was thinking there's another one called it's like Sergeant Gorman. Did you hear about this? It's on like Shudder, and it's supposed to be a comedy, kind of in like the same vein as like Toxic Avenger, about some guy who's like an alien and just goes around just fucking murdering people all the time. But it's like, it's fun. It's like humorous, and people are like, "Oh, what's he gonna do this time?" And he just murders.
I feel like
so many high fives and fist bumps in that movie.
Some good kills in that one.
It's great for drinking games.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Eric. You had a point about the comics.
I was just gonna say, if that becomes a real thing, we're all fucked. I think that could take us over, as opposed to like AI infecting us, or maybe it starts with AI and then it just kind of like evolves and it becomes some kind of virus and then just spreads to people and we just start becoming whatever. I don't know. I was just trying to instill the fear in you guys, and
look how quiet we are.
or maybe you're actually actively thinking about this and you're like, this guy should not share his weird fucked up ideas on this podcast.
Well, what I'm thinking about right now is I had an even nerdier point to make, but because you kind of like took the avant-garde on that, like, should I just bail on that entirely and just like let Eric take the hits?
I guess the real question is will we ever get to the point where we all have like Ana de Armas, like
with 20-foot long tongues?
I'll take the giant, any size you want. You can just like you stretch with like your fingers out like this, and it just expands upon our size. And
fingers crossed, Eric. Fingers crossed.
You think that's what it's going to be like, but then she's going to lecture you for an hour on how the Japanese kids get their history lessons.
Oh man, unless I get Joe, then I'm just stuck with just this giant dong, just kind of coming right down the chimney. And
did you get a Joe?
Yeah, I got it. Man.
You know what? Hey, they sent me the Joe by mistake. I didn't return it. Good conversation on this.
Nice. I'm gonna go with I'm hoping that with all these movies that we have made and created, Terminator and all that stuff, that people are fearful of doing that stuff. And I find it kind of funny, the hypocrisy, the contradiction of we are smart enough to make these AI that are human-like, but we're dumb enough to make them. So I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
From my perspective, maybe I think part of the problem there is like the median humanity who has kind of grown up on these things, on these cautionary tales, has that exact rational fear. Like the problem is that a lot of like the leaders, especially like a lot of kind of like the higher ups in like the technical world, are less like the average non-insane human being and much more like sort of kind of Jared Leto with like a knife in the bathrobe.
They were too busy studying while the rest of us were watching sci-fi movies.
Right. But at the same time, a lot of these things that we get are based on like war weapons. And then it trickles down to us.
It's like a challenge. It's like that. It's like people are like, you can't do that. And somebody's like, I got a buddy that can do that.
Yeah.
And then
I know a guy.
I know a guy. His name's Joe.
The actual, speaking as a guy who AI stuff kind of, or what they're kind of calling AI now, which is kind of, you want to sort of split hairs to something like a little bit different. It's something I kind of touched on in my kind of when I was kind of going to like graduate school. The thing that sort of stresses me out about kind of what they're calling AI is in 2024 is just kind of it's not so much kind of like the technology itself, but how it's kind of being advertised. What stuff like kind of what stuff like Chat GPT can actually do. There's I think a wide and widening gap between what the technology is actually capable of doing versus how it's been sold, how it's been advertised, how it's kind of been like a sort of like explained to people. And like the thing that sort of worries me without kind of just kind of getting into kind of weeds, like the stuff that of just how this stuff kind of actually works. The the current AI models that are out there that can kind of simulate human conversation, can kind of write stories or sort of kind of create kind of pictures kind of based on descriptions like that. That's cool and interesting stuff that sort of has its applications. But with this kind of current crop of what they're kind of calling AI, similar to all kind of what its predecessors were actually sort of capable of doing, it's a lot better suited for making kind of large numbers of sort of low stakes predictions and decisions versus very kind of small numbers of kind of like sort of predictions or decisions that require a lot of kind of knowledge and kind of expertise. What kind of personally stresses me up about kind of where AI is right now is like stuff for like recommend a YouTube video for me, or tell me a kind of what's this thing on Amazon I may actually like, or give me a couple like alternate suggestions for my GPS for kind of how like the driving work. That's fine for what the technology is. What worries me, because the way that AI is currently, and like the way it can kind of seem to kind of imitate human conversation, human writing, whatever else, is that it's going to be unethically and sort of impractically sold as like a thing that can land airplanes or design systems or prescribe medicine. That's currently in terms of just like kind of standing anxieties about where I have for kind of like tech and what the immediate future is going to look like. That's something I worry about and kind of think about.
Is this like they're coming for our jobs? They're coming for our jobs.
I just they're coming. They're there's a lot of CEOs out there that would really, really like to replace not just the customer service people, the copywriters, but they would also like to be able to replace the pharmacists and the engineers and the scientists. Kind of
I don't think anybody could replace you, John Hay. Just don't think it's a thing.
I think all those things are going to happen, John, both good and bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like you're going to have people who use it for altruistic reasons. They're going to try to cure cancer with it, and they're going to try to solve world hunger with it, and they're going to try to solve the climate crisis with it, and all these, kind of objectively good things. And then you're going to have the other folks who see it as a way to monetize. They're going to monetize it in a way that benefits them, and they're not going to give a shit what it does for humanity. You're going to have both, because that's how human nature works. Right. And you're also going to have people in the middle that are using it to, make porn with or whatever else.
Right.
And that's neither good nor bad, depending. Well, like maybe it's.
Well, yeah, just
depends who's in that porn.
Well, it depends on what you have to do on a Friday night if your lift ride doesn't pan out. I don't know.
It's not supposed to be green.
Kind of an interesting question tied to this other question is how many people were humans in the movie? I don't think there was a lot. Were there?
So the sequel left it ambiguous that Deckard was a replicant. That was kind of like one of the standing famous questions from the first movie. So
was it really?
Maybe for him,
wow.
But Jared Leto, Robin
Right, Penn.
Robin Wright.
Right, yeah.
Maybe the guy that ran the orphanage, like that's not like 100% clear.
Yeah.
Deckard's the kid that Deckard had with Rachel, that again, it may be sort of like ambiguous. So that's.
But she was like half and half, wasn't she?
I was going to say, how could they not tell whether she was a replicant or not? She's creating memories for replicants.
Right.
Yeah.
But she grew up as a human. So she just developed those memories. And then, because think about it, she said she was in there since she was like 8 or something. But she's creating all these insane memories being around kids and having all these experiences. But
she was in there because she was immunocompromised. So
she is, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, I think, that like the focus, like the music that the focus that the movie keeps on Kay the entire time, but it seems like there's an almost equally unusual and interesting story happening with Deckard's daughter kind of in the background.
By the way, what they did with this movie was just, it totally caught me off guard, and I loved it for it, because it does that thing where it's like it leads you in one direction the whole time. You're like, it's all like an hour and a half spent trying to convince you that, you know, Kay is actually Deckard's son.
Yeah.
And it was going all in. And then you're just like, this is so predictable. Why would anybody like buy this? And then they just throw you for like, you know, 180 and you're like, holy
but
crap,
it's not this clumsy Shyamalan kind of twist. Everything is kind of built up sort of naturally, convincingly, and it's also
it was very natural. I didn't feel like anything was forced with it. The first movie, I mean, seeing the final cut in the way they pieced everything together, the editing was really crap. And so it's like I didn't really I liked the ending, but I didn't really buy it. I was just like, oh, I see what you did there, and that it's kind of a twist, but it's just not a really great one. And then this one is just some really, I don't know who worked on the script, but just such a good story. And when they brought it back, and I was like, who's it going to be? And then it clicked when that girl that's like the memory creator or whatever was telling that story about how she got in there, and she's like, my parents just left me, and then I was just here, and then they built this big dome for me, and I just stayed here ever since. It just like all clicked. I'm like, oh my God, they like rewrote, you know, her story so then they could run away from her, like Deckard said, and she just
and it's Kay with like her, like the versions of her memories plus all the kind of like that, like the document scrubbing that kind of Sapper had like alluded to at different points. Those are all sort of basically kind of decoys, kind of put in place to keep them from tracking down Deckard and Rachel like in the kid.
Yeah. Such a cool story, though.
It's like the ending was sort of so astounding to me, and kind of watching in like the back half of the film, kind of Kay gradually kind of coming to terms with the fact that he's like a decoy, and he's basically his purpose is to kind of protect this family, and like that final scene with Harrison Ford, he saves his life. Takes him to see his daughter. They're kind of standing outside the snow, and he's just in Harrison Ford. He's looking at him, and he just goes, "Who am I to you?" He's still trying to pace that thing together, and hey, there literally as he's dying, just kind of smiles on him and just goes, "Just go in and see your daughter." But, anything else there, or we can kind of go on to the next question.
Keep it rolling.
Go.
Keep it rolling. Yeah. All right. Next question from Andy. Someone lived this. Yeah, it happened. Did you find any major plot holes in Blade Runner 2049? Did they make the story less effective or the movie less enjoyable?
I think there are a ton of plot holes in the movie. I don't.
The big ones that jump out for you at all?
Yeah, I'll rapid fire. So, why would the police use a replicant as a Blade Runner, considering how dangerous a runaway replicant can be? Why would they even risk the program by using a replicant to hunt replicants? Why bother?
The backstory there is like the runaway ones were supposed to be like the previous versions that were kind of built by the Tyrell company in the first movie.
Yep.
Supposedly after like there was like this event called the Blackout, where there was basically like a big like EMP detonation over Los Angeles that kind of wiped all the replicants out. To at least my understanding, I did kind of quite deep dive in the lore, but the thing that they said was the Jared Leto's company bought out the Tyrell patents after the Blackout, and Ryan Gosling was one of like the new generations of replicants that was considered sort of completely like much more obedient and incapable of sort of rebelling the way that kind of Rutger Hauer and the company did in the first.
Yeah, but the original replicants at one point were also considered safe until they weren't. So it's like, it's one of those don't learn from the past kind of situations.
I think this is the whole thing in IT security. It's just running as fast as you can to kind of stay in one place.
Yeah.
I was going to say, too, you know how they keep asking him the questions prior to doing the mission? If you think back to the first one, when Harrison Ford's doing the questioning to Rachel, and it's kind of like he's trying to figure out if she's a replicant or not. I felt like maybe they get to the point where the new models, they're kind of like, we'll ask them these questions, and then it helps bring them back to their baseline, or maybe reset their baseline. Yeah. So it kind of like, what do I want to say? whatever shit they've done or seen, or however far they've strayed from their baseline, which shouldn't be that far, this kind of resets it, brings them back to point like, A
it's
or
kind
zero
of a virus scan almost.
And then, because the fact that he keeps even saying like, oh, she's like, that's an order. Are you going to disobey orders? And he's like, is that even like a thought?
I didn't know that was an option.
An option, yeah. Stuff like that. I feel like you got to accept some things here without them fleshing out everything. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? But yeah, it's a good point.
I think you could answer that answer probably fits with everything else that I'm picking out. It's one of those like, just shut up and watch the movie and enjoy it kind of thing. But like, how could a replicant ever get pregnant or have a baby when they weren't given reproductive organs nor the ability to, spontaneously grow them? I know you suspend disbelief. It's the, whatever, fine. But like, if you're
also
really
one of the core concepts of Jurassic Park, if I remember,
that's true. They
nature finds a way.
I do like how you write the questions down though. Don't turn off the movie at that point and be like, fucking T-Rex. Nope. Turn it off. Michael Crichton's full of bullshit.
There's no way that Velociraptor would have a working uterus. Come on.
Yeah,
I know.
I got three more rapid fire. Kay, this one's just dumb, but I noticed it. Kay was fired from the police force. Why did he still have his police car?
How else is he gonna escape?
Well, okay, fine.
They were tracking him, right? Didn't he have that little like tracking device on him? Yeah.
What is Wallace's motivation to make replicants able to reproduce? Wouldn't that be bad for his business?
That's the thing he covers, like in like his first monologue, where he's like stabbing the naked Hungarian chick. He's just like, we can't make them fast enough, and we've only been able to reach 9 alien worlds. We know there's a ton more out. We need millions of these things, right? And we just can't do like factory stuff.
But so that then creates the question, which you've walked right into for me. Thank you, Johnny. It creates the question then, was Wallace really a bad guy, or did he have these grand plans that he thought were really going to help humanity? And he kind of, was willing to turn a blind eye to the bad that they would have to go through in order to get to the good.
I promise you that's how Elon Musk exactly sees his own work.
Exactly. And that's dangerous and scary. But anyway, and then the last one, is Deckard's daughter actually immunocompromised, or was that all just part of the cover up? And if she isn't, that's so screwed that they put her in a bubble for
the cover up. It has to be.
Yeah. Well, because they show at the beginning how they basically switched the files and said that the girl died, the boy survived. The boy was the one that was immunocompromised, I think. And then when they switched, I don't know. So anyway, that was something that came to my mind. Like, they put this poor girl in a bubble for whatever, 25, 30 years or whatever it is. She has no idea that she isn't immunocompromised. She spent her whole life just in this bubble. At some point, maybe she starts to think, well, shit, wait a minute. Am I immunocompromised? And then she has to like go out and be like, holy shit, I'm not immunocompromised. I wasted my whole life, looking at fake bugs and holograms. I don't know. I'd be furious. A good point,
though, because it's like you think now at the end when Deckard goes there and then they kind of end the scene there where he meets his daughter. What's he going to do? Is he going to go save her now that she's free to do whatever she wants because like the people coming? Well, Wallace is still alive, right?
Yeah.
And the movie they'll come get her, but the people that
never
are
under any kind of threat, like the entire.
Yeah, the people that are aware that she could potentially be like the offspring of Deckard and Rachel, then I guess.
It's an interesting thing about the movie, and I like the humanity and the ambiguity of it because it just Kay is making a choice to like, I'm not going to be a policeman anymore. I'm not going to be an executioner anymore. My priority is going to be, I am just going to, because I thought for a while that this man may actually be my father. I know that's not actually the case. Like, I'm an orphan, like I'm a product, I'm nothing. I'm going to make the human choice of rather than rather than killing Deckard to sort of protect the girl and the replicant army, I'm going to save Deckard's life and take him to meet his daughter. I'm going to reunite a father and a daughter together and try to have like human home moment. However, this is a good way to kind of think about some movies. What happens in the next 5 minutes? There's a dead replicant police officer outside, and this guy who is assumed to be kind of vanished for years and years, and his daughter that may not be actually able to kind of leave like the bubble. Like it gets, if you think about it for a bit, like that, it's a human ending, but things may, for like the remaining characters, shit's going to get sort of really kind of weird and messy like immediately after that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be too. Like, hey, you want to go to a Taco Bell?
Yeah.
They're pretty good. You should try the nachos.
We'll figure out if you're immunocompromised once.
It's like, oh no, the techno-organic virus is taking over.
She walks out looking like RoboCop.
Yeah, I would have to say it's a cover-up, because that whole memory that Kay has, she analyzes it and says that's a very real memory and starts crying because that's her memory.
It's an amazing little scene that really kind of falls out.
Right.
Yeah.
That was powerful.
So, I mean, where was that? I mean, obviously they don't show it or anything, but where was that transition from being in this orphanage, which is very dirty and dingy, and she's hanging out with all this furnaces that are rusted and throwing, and all of a sudden she was taken away and put into this bubble, and like, you're going to become a memories master, and you're going to make memories.
It sort of speaks to Andy's point, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so last question in this segment. So we've sort of talked about like this movie from like a bunch of like different angles. Ultimately, sort of big picture question for this cycle: was this a superior sequel?
Yes. Napone, we haven't heard much from you.
Superior? No. Better? Yes.
Okay.
It had a little bit.
That's fair.
Had a little
That's
bit
fair.
better plot point to it. Again, it was just very slow. I think he could have cut out like 40 minutes, and he probably could have got to the point a little bit better. And maybe found a better actor than Jared Leto would probably help too.
These associations are so tough. Like it's
But at the same, I mean, there's a little trivia with that. I'm sure that's what Andy was just going to. But
yeah.
Okay.
At the same time, Jared Leto's part wasn't very long either to compare to the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
I might as well throw in the piece of trivia because it might inform the conversation that you're starting right now, Napone. So this will be my Vigo's toes in advance.
Good one.
The original person that was supposed to play Highlander Wallace was David Bowie. Bowie ended up dying about 6 months before the movie proceeded, and then after him, Gary Oldman and Ed Harris were both considered for the role, and eventually were passed over for Jared Leto.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
All three of those would have been better.
There's no
Seriously.
metaphor for that. The metaphor for that is literally you're expecting to get David Bowie, but instead you get Jared Leto.
Yeah, and the reason that Denis ended up deciding to use Leto was because his original thought was, I want Bowie, who's a rock star, and he's got a rock star persona, and he kind of carries himself like a rock star. Mm-hmm. So he decided he still wanted to have that rock star swagger. So he picked Jared Leto.
Jesus Christ. I thought it was for a different reason. I thought it was because he wanted somebody young, because clearly if you have all this money and all this technology, you're going to do everything to make yourself, like in your early 20s or something like that. You want to stay young. And so I was like, okay, that's the only way I could buy it. Otherwise, I'm like, there's no way this guy's like, is he like an entrepreneur or something? And he has all this money and he buys up the whole like Tyrell corporation. I was like, there's no way.
Bowie, you can at least kind of convincingly see as like a Richard Branson kind of type, where it's not unconvincing that this guy has some sexiness and some intelligence and some swaggering kind of made at that point. The closest thing Leto comes to is like a grungier, like kind of like just best analog there is like the dude, like that fucking crazy dude who like founded like Bikram yoga, you know.
He's one of those guys where he has like ripped jeans at the knees, but it's only one knee because he's like slightly badass, but not full in badass.
But he also bought them that way. He didn't earn it.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. In there with that box knife, he's like, you know what? No, somebody's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
We'll buy him pre-cut.
Yeah.
The only part that did make it good, not the only, kind of talking about the porn part. I need to ask: did Ryan Gosling or Joe have a threesome?
That's
it's
a great question.
It's tough because it was technically two robots and a hologram. That's yeah. You know, to my thinking, that's between you and whatever your god happens to be.
I mean,
yeah, Naveen, two robots because the prostitute was also a replicant.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
I did not pick up on that.
Yeah.
I was thinking for the sex scene when they cut away, I just pictured in my head like somebody like making like Keurig coffee, where they take like the cake up and they just kind of put it in the slot, and put down. Anna de Armas is the water. They're filling it up, and then they just hit like, I'm gonna go for like middle-sized cup, medium cup, and then it just fills right up. Drink that shit up.
Nice.
It was toasted coconut, by the way.
What they don't explain in the movie, which I later saw in some of my research, was that a sympathetic replicant can basically be inhabited by one of those holographic whatever AI thing, which is what you end up seeing her doing. She basically takes over her body and her consciousness to a point. And yeah, anyway, I would love to know what all the pointing and gesticulating is behind the scenes.
I'm just telling Eric he's a bad friend, and I don't like him. Sorry.
I'm just saying, if they created those holographic Ana de Armas things, that's a perfectly good use of AI.
Right.
I fully support. If you want to like kickstart that, just take my money. I'll wait the whatever 50, 60 years. We're all living to 100 apparently. So
it just sucks that like it's the apocalypse, but Harrison Ford still has like a nicer Vegas apartment than I do. He's got a good whiskey collection. He's got a dog.
He took over the entirety of the the vintage casino.
It was kind of coded as the Luxor, but
yeah.
I thought
it was
those
called
were.
The vintage casino.
I didn't realize those were actual actors that were doing like the holographs, like for Elvis. And yeah. It's actual actors. Cool. It's actual. I don't know if they're from Vegas, but they got people that actually like their gig or their side gig maybe is to be like, like Elvis and go out and do shows like every night.
Really?
So that's why, I mean, or like the Frank Sinatra one. I was like, that looks just like, Frank Sinatra. And I looked up online, they're like
Vegas impersonators.
Wait, that wasn't Frank Sinatra?
No, credits to an impersonator.
No shit. Huh.
Yeah.
That one was super convincing.
We got some good shows out here, dude. You got to come back.
No.
Oh, man. I am telling you, though, when Harrison Ford was just like, look, I really like this song. And it's like the Elvis song, and he's like, so do you want to get a drink or do you want to continue this?
Yeah.
He's like, let's get that drink.
That was a great scene. I thought that was so good.
Yeah.
Honestly, everything like it just I like Vegas in movies generally, but just everything about that just really so happy.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
For me, superior sequel, like I think I've only watched kind of two Ridley Scott movies in the past 10, 15 years, and that was Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and both those films I thought were kind of dumb and overly complicated and messy. For me, like this is probably top 3 science fiction films that I kind of like. I saw in my 30s, and like Villeneuve is such a talent and such a craftsman. Like, his big movie prior to this was Arrival, which I also loved. And I'm on record as just kind of really just being like adored and being obsessed with both of the other Dune movies. Yeah. Ridley Scott was kind of set up to, they had a script and he actually, I believe, sort of stepped down from directing this to kind of do Alien Covenant instead. And like I think that
what a bad choice.
Villeneuve knew sort of full well. He was like, as a teenager, this was my absolute sort of favorite films of all time. He knew what a sacred cow that he was coming at, but I think he has such a deft touch, and he's such like a interesting and imaginative and sort of just compassionate director. And like just revisiting this again, for me, I just love this movie to like death, like front and back. And I should take like another kind of run at the original kind of Blade Runner at some point, but it was surprising to me kind of revisiting kind of the critical consensus like a little bit of just like I had this whole sort of spiel on the last episode, how come The Road Warrior was the only kind of unambiguously better sequel like out of the bunch, but where people have kind of like a lot of people sort of landed now on kind of what the original versus like current Blade Runner movies actually means. I think like this thing is a lot closer to a sort of like a unquestionably superior one than I think than I was kind of expected, prior to that revisiting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also agree with Nippon, thinking like if you had shaved off maybe half an hour of the film and just condensed it a little, I think you could have come up with a slightly better movie. But overall, I mean, the whole tone throughout the movie is very consistent, and so you just like are entranced, like you're in that world, no matter what location they go to or whatever's going on. And yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. First one is one of those kind of hokey movies from the 80s that you forgive for a lot of flaws that it has, but you can tell there's
because it was the first one doing that kind of thing. Like, you know, Star Wars opened up the gates for so many of that kind of thing. Not all of them were great, but a lot of those kind of early kind of post Star Wars things became more definitive later on. You know, just Blade Runner got made because of Star Wars, or Road Warrior also like very kind of similar situation at the same time.
Yep. Yeah. Sure. Did everybody do their Vigo's toes?
I threw mine out there already.
I have a couple I'd like to share.
Go for it.
The first one is I don't know if it was apparent to you guys, but come on, they say more human than human twice. It's in the first movie and the sequel. Ridley Scott was definitely a Rob Zombie fan. Had to be a white zombie fan.
But that song came out way after the first one.
Sure, yeah. I think it was, it inspired it maybe. I don't know.
Pretty close.
Naveen, you think that, but Bautista actually mixed the records up.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like him hacking a computer with like his tiny little glasses,
Those glasses were so dumb.
Yeah. Keep the glasses on. Something that I screamed out loud when I saw Tyrell in the first one. He's the same actor that played. This is the only other movie I've seen him in. He's the bartender in The Shining, where he says he has to take care of his family. Yeah, he's like, have another one, and keeps pouring him the drinks, the whiskey. Yeah, I saw right away. I was like, oh my god, he's playing the exact same character, except he's not wearing like a tux or whatever, and in this one he has glasses. So
in 2049, does like the guy who does like the analysis of like the wooden horse and tells Kay to go to Vegas is he the guy from the Tom Hanks Somali pirate movie? Same actor.
Yes,
it looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of actors and actresses, do you know who Rachel was?
Her name is Sean Young, but I don't know what else she's been in.
She's Einhorn in Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Finkel and Einhorn.
Oh my god.
Young was a pretty like prolific actress like back in the day.
Yeah, but I can't name anything else she was in.
I know she's probably in a bunch of just like lesser known films at the time or something.
Hold on.
I was excited because if you guys
she played Shawnee in the original Dune.
Oh, okay. There you go. The guy not appropriately named Mr. Cotton that ran the orphanage. That's Morgan from Walking Dead. If you guys are Walking Dead fans.
Yeah.
I was like, Morgan. He's a British actor, and he always plays like he never has an accent in his films. He always plays like he's like American or something. He's really good at it. So
Yeah.
Sean Young was also Luis in Stripes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
I
And
forgot you
okay.
on that.
a lot of other random stuff.
I was gonna
Dr.
say,
Jekyll and Mrs. Hyde. That was
Ooh, that was a big one.
yeah.
All right. Well, are you all set there with your Vigo's toes?
Yeah, I guess I'm done.
Well, for superior sequel, I definitely think this is a superior sequel. It was well done, more enjoyable, and again, from what I remember of the first one, it's been a while, but I will revisit that. The other thing was for Vigo's toes there, it's kind of interesting that you bring up cutting it down and things. The original of it is about 4 hours long.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's what he trimmed it down to. So it's pretty funny. It's like it needs to be trimmed down a little bit more.
He had a 4-hour
was to
movie,
make
and
it
they're like, "Would you like to also do multiple versions of this?" And Villeneuve, very, very intelligent, was like, "Nope. There's going to be one cut. It's going to be the theater cut. That's it.
Yep.
I'm going to make an amazing Dune movie right after this." But I'm going to be done with it.
And something else that I want to bring up that I forgot. We were talking about the actors and things. I don't know how to say his last name, but David Dashmalchian. That's what I said.
Oh yeah.
Who?
David Dalmatian.
Dalmatian, exactly. See,
Who's that?
My puppy.
who was the
He played the Spot on Suicide Squad. Was that his character?
doctor who was doing
He was the lead on
kind of freezing up on here.
Late Night with
You
the
guys still
Devil.
there?
Yeah. we can hear
Okay.
you.
So yeah,
So
he was the doctor there, but I just want to bring him up. I think he's an awesome actor, but he always plays these side guys, and I think he's just getting shafted.
Yeah, that's true. Polka Dot Man. That's what he played.
Naveen, he was excellent, and he plays the lead in a small independent horror movie I saw last year called, or I think like earlier this year, called Late Night with the Devil.
I heard about that one. I want to see that.
Very, very good. Highly recommend it.
I think that's his first movie that he's ever done like a leading role, right?
Yeah.
There was some
And
other
what's his
film he
name?
did where he had he played a Russian. I forget what that one was. He did like a Russian accent.
He was an Ant-Man. Was that the one where he's doing that accent?
Could be, yeah. I think it was a Marvel movie.
Well, just one like a random gangsters that he kind of fights. That's
In Ant-Man? No, he was his. He was a partner with the security company.
oh, okay.
He was
Yeah.
Paul Rudd's character.
He's very definitely one of those that guy actors.
Yeah. But just wanted to throw that out there.
My big sort of Vigo's toes was kind of the same as Naveen's. Like it kind of cracks me up. Like the original cut 4 hours. Villeneuve was just like 2.5 hours. Boom, I'm done. Not touching it like that.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. Any other trivia or closing thoughts for the movie?
Nope.
Movie generally recommended by 4 of the 5 hosts tonight.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Think so.
Okay. So, Sorbet, I picked out. I had this idea to kind of do like something that's a little bit thematic, like the movie itself. So I called this segment the Voight Comp test, which is the name for like the test in the first movie of like the thing that they applied to people to figure out whether or not they were kind of a replicant. But the thing I actually came up with was a little bit of a quiz. For you guys here, that's actually closer to a Turing test. What a Turing test is, it's an idea that this British sort of mathematician and linguist and scientist named Alan Turing is kind of considered like the father of kind of modern computer science. Came up with back in 1950. He was really obsessed with the idea kind of just sort of just kind of computers and like the distinction between hardware and software and how you can actually sort of communicate with machines. a colleague of his proposed a problem to him that was like, how can you tell, because these machines will sort of get more kind of sophisticated and fast every year, how can you tell when a machine is kind of actually intelligent? Is there like a test you could actually make out of this? Turing actually wrote, in response to this question, taking inspiration from British parlor games of all things, a research paper proposing a test for artificial intelligence that still kind of this day is kind of held up as because it was one of like the initial standards of just kind of just sort of saying, has a machine become like kind of truly sophisticated about kind of thinking and communicating? He called it the imitation game back in the time. It's currently it became sort of so famous later, it was referred to like as a Turing test currently. Core concept of this test is you have like a human observer or some number of human observers, and they're sitting in front of two terminals. On the other side of one terminal is a human. The other side of the other terminal is like a robot, AI, technological kind of whatever. Human, the observer or like the tester, asks a set of questions to one terminal and then to the other terminal, and then they try to make a guess. So the observer has to kind of like ask questions to kind of both terminals, and then they have to guess which is the human, which is the robot. The thing that Turing proposed was when AI gets really, really good, really sophisticated, when you can actually call AI legitimately intelligent, when the AI reaches the point where the observer can't tell the difference between the two terminals consistently. Basically, when it gets to a point where it's like flipping a coin. Tell me which is the human being, which is like the robot. So I made a little test for like the five of you to take, where you're going to be my four observers for the Turing test. I took some very simple. I took 5 very simple questions. I wrote my own short answers to them, and I also kind of churned those same questions through ChatGPT. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the question. I'm going to read you my response and then the ChatGPT response, but I randomly flip them for each question. And I'm not going to tell you which one is mine and which one is the AI. And I'm going to be kind of curious to see whether or not, like the robot, whether or not ChatGPT can consistently fool you guys. So I'll kind of I'll read the questions, get those answers. Then I'm going to total everything up at the end of the round. So, ready?
Let's
Humans
go.
versus Chappie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chappie versus Rebels Without a Pod. Here we go. All right. Like I said, 5 questions. There's going to be response A, response B. It's random which one is my response and which one is the AI response. So here we go. All right. Question 1. What are the steps to getting a driver's license? And I want you to tell me which one you think is the AI. Okay. Response A. Take a driver's education course, pass a written test, complete required practice hours, schedule a driving test, and pass it to obtain your driver's license. Response B. Verify you meet the requirements for a license, including minimum age, complete coursework and practice hours behind the wheel, book an appointment at the Department of Motor Vehicles, and pass the written and driver's tests. So it's A, B. Which one do you guys think is the AI?
Oh boy, that's way harder than I thought it was going to be.
Brave New World, gentlemen.
My original thought was B.
B is the AI.
Yes.
You think B is the AI? We're looking for which you think is the AI.
Yeah. B.
I'm trying to think which one would give a slightly little more detail.
Okay. Napoleon, you think
when
B?
I do like a Google search sometimes, it doesn't give me like a clear-cut list. It's usually kind of like explains it a little.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be B.
Okay. Eric says B.
I'm going to say A.
Naveen, what do you think? Which one is the AI?
Oh.
1.
Oh, he's mixing it up.
Naveen's having audio issues.
He's looking up how to find how to get a driver's license.
Yeah. By the way, whoever gets this right is a replicant. I'm just saying.
No, so okay. We'll
said
finish
B.
this, and I'll sort of read like the rest of the text. Naveen?
So Naveen
He said B.
Naveen says B in the chat.
B in the chat. Okay. All right. So like I said, there's all right, and to add to like the rest of like the test they worked out, every one you get wrong, every one you can't recognize what I said versus the AI said, we're going to call that a robot point. Anybody that gets 3 or more robot points, you're going to get marked as a replicant and hunted down by Baby Goose. Just to let everybody know.
Oh God! Fingers crossed. I hope so.
Okay. Wait, do we get the answers after each question?
I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to go all the way down.
Unfair. I want to know what the patterns are. This is not Splendor.
What? No.
I'll go for a wild card.
Okay. Question two. How do you change the strings on a guitar? Response A. Place the guitar on a level surface and remove the old strings from the tuning pegs and bridge. Attach new strings at the bridge, then to the tuning pegs, trimming excess wire, tune new strings. Response B. Loosen the old strings, remove them from the tuning pegs and bridge. Thread new strings through the bridge and tuning pegs, then tighten and tune the desired pitch. Which one was written by an AI?
B. It's B because your intonation changed when you read each of the answers. And I felt A was more natural.
Oh, that's interesting. I think A is the AI.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay.
I do.
Okay, so Andy is A, Eric is B.
I agree with Andy. I think it's A as well.
Okay. Capone is A.
Naveen says B in the chat.
B in the chat.
Naveen, what's going on with your audio? We don't know. Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's a techno virus.
Uh-oh.
Look, he's changing. You can tell.
Skynet just came online. It's like the first thing he's going to do is shut down Blade Runner podcasts. Okay.
His other hand is fully robot now.
Oh, no, look at him. He's reading a Sky Mall magazine for fun. It's definitely human.
Right.
You don't do that?
Question three. What are some reasons to move to a new town? Response A. Reasons to move to a new town may include professional opportunities, being closer to family and loved ones, better weather, improved quality of life, an easier commute, and a more reasonable cost of living. Response B. Job opportunities, better quality of life, affordable housing, new experiences, educational institutions, community vibe, proximity of family, climate preference, recreational activities, and personal growth possibilities can motivate a move.
B.
A is
the AI. Yeah.
A is the AI.
Okay. I agree.
James is A.
I agree.
Eric said
want to say why?
Do
there was one word that tipped me off.
Vibe.
Yeah,
climate?
Exactly.
The climate is one that ticked me off because Johnny talks about it a lot.
So
that's true.
Naveen, are you also A?
I'm A, yes.
Okay.
Navone?
Wasn't climate in B as well?
It was in both, I think.
Was it in both?
A has better weather.
Oh.
B has climate preference.
Okay.
I'm choosing B because it's a climate preference.
John is pretty technical, so.
Yeah.
So is ChatGPT, as it turns out. Okay. Question 4. Why do filmmakers often dress villains in black and heroes in white? This comes to us from Andy. Response A. Filmmakers use black for villains and white for heroes to communicate moral contrasts, leveraging cultural associations of darkness with evil and light with goodness, enhancing visual storytelling and audience perception. Response B. Costume design in film can help contribute to the story and theme. White costumes on heroes may communicate purity, noble aim, and integrity, while black costumes for villains may communicate danger, secrecy, and ill intent. What was written by the AI?
Ooh.
That's a tough one. I would think it was A with.
I think A was the AI.
I think it was A. I think so.
I'm going with B.
Naveen says B.
This is a straight up guess for me. I really don't know. I'm going to say B is AI.
B is the AI.
I will go with B as well.
B as well.
You know we're all competing to be Johnny's best friend, right?
Not so much best friend.
Today.
Let's just find out who's going to live to 2049. All right. This is maybe like the toughest of the bunch.
Jeez.
Like I said, I wrote these myself first, tried to keep it to 30 words, and then put into ChatGPT, told it to kind of keep it the same kind of thing. This out of the 5 was kind of like the 2 kind of closest responses. So sort of really kind of no judgments here if this is too much. Name some famous movies from the 80s. All right. A. Highly famous and successful films of the 80s include E.T. the Extraterrestrial, The Empire Strikes Back, Batman, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Back to the Future, Top Gun. B. Some famous movies from the 80s include The Breakfast Club, Back to the Future, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, Ghostbusters, The Empire Strikes Back, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which was written by the AI.
What was the last movie in the A?
And what was the last one in A?
Yeah.
Eric,
you're muted.
Do they both say E.T. the Extraterrestrial? They don't just say E.T.?
It's in A, it's listed first. In B, it's listed third.
Oh boy.
Well, that helps.
I'm going with A.
All right. A, Naveen says A was written by the AI.
I'll say A as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think A, because I think those were like the higher box office grossing movies. I'm not sure how high Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Breakfast Club were.
So everybody, this is the only one where there's consensus. All 4 of you think A.
I don't think you would have picked Top Gun. I don't know why. It just doesn't seem like a Johnny kind of thing.
Never seen it. Don't have too strong.
Okay,
opinion.
so there we go.
All right. So those are the 5 questions. Give me, if you guys want to vamp for just like a second, let me.
Sure.
Top Gun, Superior Sequel was the second one. The first one was
I think so too. I think so too.
I didn't see the second one. Is it worth watching?
There's no plot in the first one.
Oh
the
yeah.
Yeah.
The second one is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely is pretty good. I watched that before watching the first one. I went back and watched the first one. I was like, dude, it's a lame 80s flick.
Yeah, I didn't like the first one, so it didn't make me interested in seeing the second one.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
All right. Good to know.
I watched them both on the same weekend.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
Well, I saw Top Gun when we were younger, but watched it again.
I was going to ask you this. I don't know if Johnny had asked you at all, but if you were going to pick a superior sequel movie for this cycle, what would you pick? Not to put you on the spot, but I don't know if this is something you thought about or you were.
I probably should have thought about it, but
I explained upon the criteria like a little bit. It doesn't have to be a direct sequel, and doesn't have to be objectively like made more money or higher critic rating or whatever else. Just be like a later movie in the franchise we thought was better than the first one.
I mean, the only one that's coming to my head is because I saw it first was Caddyshack 2, but I'm pretty sure it's probably not.
Wow.
Hang up on him.
Episode.
I think you reversed it.
You think
But again,
Caddyshack 2 is better?
No, it's really only popping into my head because I saw Caddyshack 2 before I saw Caddyshack 1.
Are you in a different time zone or something? Like, where's your brain at this point? You're like, it's 4 a.m. Look, I can only find Caddyshack 2 here. Did you watch it in German as well? It doesn't make the viewing experience any better.
Okay, I got the totals figured out for the Voight-Kampf test, and I got some bad news for you guys because I love all of you. You're my friends, and just like this podcast is really the high point of my week.
Just say who was the closest.
All 4 of you are getting hunted down and murdered by Ryan Gosling. All 4 of you got 4 out of the 5 questions wrong.
Wow.
What?
All of you
No
voted
way.
unanimously on the 80s movies. All 4 of you thought my response was actually the AI. Which is
Really?
Because when I did
Top Gun?
although like the low-key replicate thing that Napoleon honed in on for my written answer to the 80s movies was the AI response was B. It just picked out random favorite movies. What I did was Google the highest grossing movies of the 80s. And went down the list. I took out all the sequels and everything else, but I just went straight down the list.
It did feel a little
Empire, Batman,
natural.
Raiders, Back to the Future, and Top Gun were 7 like the 10 highest kind of grossing movies.
For that one right there, I was like, he must have done a Google search. There's no way that you pull those out of like.
But wait, that would be cheating though. Then
isn't it right? Yeah.
The Observer
Fighting technology with technology.
No. Right. The AI is literally built off nothing but Google searches. So if I want to do like a little bit of research, like on my own, like that's not like an unfair advantage. I wouldn't just kind of. I wrote most of these things off the top of my head, but the 80s, the 80s thing, and honestly the guitar tuning, I'm like I'm going to take a quick Google search and sort of kind of just check what the steps there.
I think if you're on par with like ChatGPT at this point, I think you'd be hunted down too. I'm just saying it right now. Little Goose is coming for you.
It's been listening to this entire conversation. But I do, as a bonus, have one extra question that I wrote my own answer to, and I also kind of put it into ChatGPT. I want to share that with you guys now. The question I asked, you tell me what's the AI? That's me. The question, is the film Blade Runner 2049 a superior sequel to the original Blade Runner film? Response A. Ultimately, whether Blade Runner 2049 is superior to the original Blade Runner depends on personal tastes. Some may find 2049 to be a worthy and enriching continuation of the story, while others may hold the original in high regard for its pioneering contributions to cinema. Understanding both films in the context of their themes, direction, and impact can lead to a more nuanced appreciation of their respective merits. That was response A. Response B was, hell yeah, dude, it stars Baby Goose.
John would never start an answer with an adverb, so there we go.
Gentlemen, that was Blade Runner 2049. Any final thoughts before we get to coming attractions? The machines are coming for us all.
They are coming for us all. I thought this was a great pick. By the way, thank you for making me rewatch these films. It's a good use of my time.
There's really no bad movies on this particular cycle.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Okay, coming attractions. For next week, we're taking a break from films. It's going to be Rep Talks with Andy and myself. And I think from kind of prior pre-record conversation, we wanted like a little more time to kind of sort of flesh out the themes. But Andy and I will kind of be presenting some just kind of short topic conversations on stuff that we're interested in. And we'll also just kind of do some kind of general discussion content on that. And then in the following week, it's going to be my personal pick for superior sequels. We're going to do Jim Henson's 1981 classic, The Great Muppet Caper, which I've already promised I'm going to send a copy of to my parents. So that is going to be hanging over my head like a sight.
A copy of the actual the record, you mean?
Recording, yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Nice.
We have to be on our best behavior.
No human centipedes.
Yeah.
Eric, I was thinking for maybe that episode, maybe it's a good one to kind of bring Warren Wahlberg back finally, and they'll only get about minutes.
I mean, I could do it. I was explaining to my coworker today, who she grew up in Revere. And Revere. So she has trouble saying like a lot of names. And so I was telling her I could do this, I said Marky Mark impression. And then I explained the story with your mom, and she's like, my whole family would just murder you. Like you can't do him wrong. Right. All the Wahlbergs. I can't even do all the Wahlbergs.
What is this mudblood Boston accent you're presenting?
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, that was a lot of fun. That was episode 23. So, thank you, everybody, and talk to you soon.
Napone, thanks for joining us again, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, bud.
Anytime.
Take care.
See ya.
Howdy.
Peace out.
Howdy.
Oh, damn it.